video to the SLV-R5 that I rebuilt the power supply on. I've now got the power supply unit mounted. You can feel the heat coming off this thing. You can see the vents. All the capacitors face in this way, right? So it does have ventilation to cool it. The power supply is now mounted, and that's made quite a difference in that chroma noise that we were seeing. If I make a test recording, for example, here, and let's put it into SP first. Where's my speed? SP. We'll reset the counter using the remote. Okay, I found a remote for it too. So we'll make a test recording in SP and EP, and you see all that wonderful noise that we were seeing in the chroma is pretty much all has been taken care of. What was causing all that noise was the fact that my power supply, which had no shielding on it, was sitting right over top of the video board. So we're getting a lot of induced noise from the power supply itself. The unit still does have a problem though. I've just noticed that it's not recording in HiFi sound. I haven't checked to see whether it's playing in HiFi. That'll be the next test, but seem to have a HiFi sound problem. But I'll show you the picture. So there, I've just made a quick test recording here. You can actually put it into EP as well. And I'll record another 20 seconds in EP and rewind the tape. And you'll see that it's actually going to look a lot better than it was looking even on the plasma screen, which plasmas aren't the best for handling the time-based errors that you get off of VHS especially. Okay, so we'll rewind this tape. And as you can see, our color noise is far less than we were getting last night. But the lines are never going to be perfect off of VHS, and there we go down to the EP speed. Color's not quite as clean on EP as it was on SP, but it still is not bad. I'll show you the little analog monitor here as well. It looks a lot better. So here's my slightly defocused picture, because if I focus it too sharp, you're going to see all the lines on the from the tube. So I'll just defocus it slightly. So there's SP playback, and it's going to switch down to EP right about now. And as you can see, that's actually not too bad once the tracking kicks in. Analog tube can certainly handle the timing errors better than any plasma because of just the way plasma works. So, saying that, the picture is actually quite good now. And now I need to deal with the sound problem. So that's what we're going to try and address on this video, is the sound problem. Why is it not recording HiFi? So we'll first put a HiFi tape in it and see if it will play it. Now, one thing that was kind of unique about these Sonys is that it was the full load system, so when you rewound or fast forward, the tape stays loaded, but they did have a mode called high speed rewind. You could press high speed rewind and it would actually unload the tape, and then you could rewind at a much higher speed. And that's something that was kind of unique to Sony. Some of the other professional machines would do a half load where they would unload to go into rewind and then they'd have to thread up again, but Sony actually offered a separate button called high speed rewind, which you could use when you wanted to rewind the tape quickly. I'm just testing this thing out to see where our problem is. It looks like it's not playing back HiFi either. It's I can select. What's happening? What's going on? I can select the output audio monitor, but it doesn't appear to make any difference whatsoever. It's and I also get this click. Listen. So something in the audio circuits give me some trouble in this. Here's the main chassis flipped out. One of these boards is going to be the audio board. Just looking to see which one it is. It might be this one here. I think this might be the AU board. I'm just looking to see. This is a tuner board here. And IF board. I believe this one's video down here. Pretty sure one of these is the audio board. I'm just going to take a closer look at it for the HiFi audio. Now once you release the catches, you can actually fold these boards all the way. This is the character generator board here. There's our tuner and IF board, and this might be the audio board here. Unplug it and take a look and see if I can see any HF9. Yeah, this one's going to be the audio board. I'm going to take a look at it and see if I can spot any leaking caps or anything out of the ordinary on this thing. I think we can see the answer to that question. Look at around here. Okay. You can see corrosion on the board. See, look at the traces here. Look at this trace here. Has been eaten away. These stupid caps. Like these Elnas? No, they're Durorix. These freaking caps. There's Elnas on here too, but these purple caps here are leaking. You can see it on the board. So this is going to need a cap job. What I'm going to do, I've got an identical SLV-R5. I'm going to pull the audio board out of that and just do a whole board replacement and see if that'll get my HiFi audio back on this thing, rather than go and buy a bunch of caps. So that's the nice thing about having two machines. When you've got a donor machine, you can just swap with board. So I'm going to swap the board over and see if that'll fix my HiFi audio problem. So I got the other board out of the other machine. You know what, and looking at this one, it really, I mean, I guess it's not in as bad a shape, but it's got leaking caps on it too. So we'll try this one and see whether it fixes the HiFi audio problem. It looks like I'm going to have to recap the board on this thing. It's a single layer board, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but I'm going to have to replace some of these caps. I don't know if I've got the right ones here. This one, yeah, they're all Elnas. They're Elna Durex. We'll plug this board in and see if it makes any difference to how this thing's working. Nice thing about these is they're easy to service. Snap them in. Plug it in together here. And as I said I was going to do, because the other one, the front bezel is in much nicer shape. As you can see, this one here is not all beat up like this one. So I'm going to put the nicer faceplate on this one and put the scrap one on the one that I'm going to just keep as a parts machine. Snap that on. Let's plug it back in and test it. Where's my picture? Did I unplug something? Well, it appears that this board's in worse shape than the other one. I'm not even getting video through it now. I'm getting no signal. So we're going to go back to the other board that is at least passing some signal. And I'm going to have to rebuild it, simple as that. I'll have to replace all the caps on there and fix the traces up that are damaged on the board. So we'll just flip up the clips again, remove the second bad board. I want to make sure I get my picture back before I do any more work on this thing. Yeah, I got my picture back. Yeah, so that other board's obviously got, that other board's got more problems than this one has, so the one that's in here is going to get rebuilt. So looking at this board, it looks like I've got some 47 at 25, 16 at 100. Looks like most of them are 47, and some 10s at 25. 10s at 25 volts, I should have those. 16 at 220, I should have that. And looks like all these purple Elnas have got to get replaced. Typical Elna crap, right? These shit capacitors. Okay, let's go looking for the parts. Going through the parts bin. I do have quite the inventory of caps because I've been buying some lately, so I should have enough to replace these with. I don't know whether these Duro-X mean anything, or whether they're just standard. What temperature are these? These are only 85-degree caps, so some of them, the leads are actually. Get a load of this one here. The pin's actually corroded right off of it. This one looks corroded off too. Incredible. Take a look. The lead is actually burned right off. The electrolytic is leaked and it's corroded right through the pin. So let's change some caps. What do you think, huh? Make this thing work like $1,000,000. Well, I thought I had all the sizes I needed, but I don't. So tomorrow after work, it'll be another trip back to the parts store, and we'll get the right parts and replace all these dud caps on this thing. I want this machine to work like a brand new machine, and when I'm done with it, it's going to work like a brand new machine. That's the goal. The picture already looks good with mounting the power supply back where it was, as you saw. That's taking care of the color smear problem. So now the only problem remaining is getting the HiFi, and S-VHS works too. I've already tested that. Now it's just a matter of getting the sound working. Okay, another $10 in parts. Let's start putting all these caps on the board. I'm going to change at least all the Elna caps that are leaking. As I showed you before, some of these are just the legs have broken right off them. So I'm going to go ahead and change all the caps, and then hopefully that's the only problems that this unit has. I think if we can get the sound back, the picture was looking pretty good when I did my test recording. We'll do some more tests on the thing and see how it looks. So the first cap to go into 10 microfarad at 25, and I'm going to have to probably do some cleanup of the board here as well. Some of the traces here are pretty grungy. I don't know whether the solder is going to stick very well to them without doing some repair, but we'll try. See whether we can make it work. Okay, doing the next part, I've noticed that the trace is burned, so I'm going to have to tack the negative lead down to where the trace connects, as this one here is, there's nothing left to solder down to. Yeah, it's burned right off, so I'm going to have to bend the lead over and tack it down to the next component that it goes to, which looks to be the wiper of RV007 right here. We'll just check for continuity to make sure that my lead is connected to the wiper of RV007. Right over here. That beep indicates that it is connected. So we can move on to the next one. A lot of the traces here are in not too good a shape. A lot of them are lifting off the board. They aren't broken, but they're lifting, so to be kind of careful when I solder them on that I don't damage them any worse than they already are. Biggest problem when capacitors have pissed onto the board is that it damages the electrolytic is corrosive and it can damage the copper quite easily, which makes getting a good connection sometimes difficult. Moving on to the next two capacitors. Remove the old solder with solder wick, even though it's difficult to remove it because it's been contaminated with electrolytic. It's still try to get what we can off the board and not damage the traces. Sometimes when you get into situations where you've got corroded solder, it sometimes makes sense just to put a little fresh solder on to try and get rid of the oxidization and dilute the mixture a bit. Get some fresh solder to stick down there and then use the wick to remove it. This is one of the reasons why most shops that were in the business would write this unit off as uneconomical to repair, because the amount of time needed to change each of these little parts would could cost, if this was going into a shop, well, considering the amount of time that was spent fixing the power supply and then to have to fix the audio board, I mean, this would be a couple $100 repair minimum, and consumer electronics is in most cases not worth putting the kind of money in that is required to restore this thing. The reason I'm doing it is it's my machine. If this was a client's machine, I doubt that they would want to spend the kind of money that it would cost to fix it, but I had two machines given to me, so I'm doing it more for the challenge and to demonstrate how these boards can be repaired by recapping. Okay, that's got these, I guess there was 5 of them in here I replaced. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So I've got these remaining. I'm doing all the red ones. Those are the ones that are leaking. The other ones aren't spewing their guts out, I don't think. It's just the Elnas that were bad. These 2 here, well, I only have to unsolder 1 lead because the other one's burned off. So these ones will be a little easier to pull off the board. This is a 10 microfarad. I think this is also a 10. C11 and C20. These are both, yeah, these are both 10 mic, as you can see if we look at the close-up here of this part. Oops, a little too close. As you can see, the lead burned right off. Yeah, I got a bit of a problem with this tracer here. The negative side. All these ones that are questionable, if the trace is damaged and so forth, I am going through with my meter and making sure that I have continuity to the next component over. So I am double checking that, even though I might not show it on camera, but I am double checking everything off camera to make sure that I have continuity where I'm supposed to. What's interesting to note is that all these capacitors that failed, they were all Elna Duro X2. They're 85 degree rated caps, so they've all been replaced with 105. Looks like some of the other ones here that I guess they're all 85 degree, but they're not all Duro X. It's only the Duro X ones, these red colored ones. I don't know what makes these ones so special, whether they were a special low ESR or something about them, but these ones here, they all leaked. Some of them to the point where the leads actually burned right off of them like this, right? But the others haven't appeared to have leaked. So I'm going to put the board back in and test it right now, just having replaced all of the leaking Elnas. So in total I've changed 12 of these crappy Elna Durex 2. Every one of them was leaking, and I've repaired some of the traces on the board that were also damaged. So reinserting the board, it just snaps in place. Like that. The tuner board swings into place, and I can. The nice thing about these units is they were really quite easy to get at to service them. Snap down the display board, reconnect the interconnect, and put the front panel on so that I have my buttons to control it. Front panel just lines up and it clicks into place. So I got a tape loaded. What I'm gonna do is I've got it, hit record. Okay, I can record on this tape. I'm pretty sure this tape I can record on. Yep. Okay, hit record. And I'm gonna bring the levels up one at a time. So I'm gonna bring the left channel up. Okay, left channel's up. And then I'm gonna take the left channel down and the right channel. Left channel up. And I'll bring both. So it's recording stereo. And now we'll play this tape back and see what we get. Well, I can say on playback that I'm still not getting hi-fi sound. So we're gonna shut that off before... Okay, I'm just gonna check this out. Take a look at the scope here. And you'll see that we're not getting good RF from both heads. It's like only one of the two heads is actually outputting a signal. These are the hi-fi audio. If I go over to the video, you'll find the test point for video. That's what there's our that's not it. That's our video test point. Yeah, there's our video test point. I don't have my scope triggered, so you can see the two heads drifting through here. And if I put it into manual tracking and vary the tracking, you'll see that the levels will change. See, now my level's gone down. Now I'm bringing the level back up. That's our video head waveform, and this is the audio. And as you can see here, I only have one head. So either we're not switching heads to the second audio head, or we have a bad head. That would explain why there's no hi-fi audio playback. Now as I scope the other pins, I should have a switching pulse on one of these pins to switch the heads. And I don't see a switching pulse on any of these. The heads, the audio heads are switched separately from the video heads, so they have their own switch pulse, which should be coming off the audio board, I believe. I'm just going to see if I can find some service data on this thing. Switch pulses are generated from the audio board, and connection there doesn't look real good under a microscope, but I'm going to take a look in this area here because this is the connector. The switch pulses are processed, so this is the IC that's going to be doing the processing. And of course you can see some of these capacitors were in this area that were changed. So I'm going to be taking a look at some of these connections very closely to look for any damage. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but if you look at pin number 1 on CN002, top right, it's cracked all the way around. So looking at these very closely, there are some connections on this board. I'm going to go over it with my magnifying glass and touch up anything that looks suspect, because I have seen a few of them on here, and that could certainly be part of the problem. And just pulling the board out and reinserting it has flexed these enough that they've broken their connection. So if I just happen to touch the board here, this connector, you'll hear the FM kick in with just one head.
In my case, the right hand's holding the camera.
Let's see, where's it touching it here?
And of course, make sure that you're trimmed for the shot you want, because every time you let go of the left hand, you don't want the camera flying away to some other shot.
So what's happening there is I'm just creating just enough noise to cause the head switching to switch to both heads momentarily, or I'm unmuting it. Let's do a test one more time here. I'm trying something different right now, and what I've done is, you remember I replaced all the capacitors, and everything is looking good, but I'm only getting RF on, even on playback, I'm only getting RF from one head. And I'm looking for a switch pulse coming in here, but actually it comes in one of the other connectors over here. My switch pulse was there, but I'm only getting RF from one head. So I'm thinking maybe the preamp has a problem. So because I have an identical unit, I have a preamp. So I'm going to swap the preamp and see if it works. So I'm going to try making a recording and play it back. I'm going to hit record, and I'm going to start and just bring up one channel at a time. That way I can verify. So hit record, and I'll bring up the left channel. We'll record that for a few seconds, and then I'll turn it off, and I'll bring up the right channel, and then I'll bring both channels up. Okay, now if I'm recording in stereo and playing back stereo, obviously I'll see one channel, then the other, and then both come up. If it's only playing back mono, I'll see signal on both meters at the same time. So here's my recording. There's my left channel. And then it goes off. And then the right channel. This is not Super VHS, by the way. This is standard that I'm showing here. So, and now both channels are playing. We've solved the problem on this bloody thing. Now I'm just going to do a color bar recording and see how our color bars record now. Again, this is using a different preamp. This is the preamp from the other machine. The other machine that also has leaking capacitors on the audio board, and I'm sure that the caps on the preamp probably aren't far behind, but there's SP, and we'll switch it down to EP here. This is recording on a standard VHS tape. Once I verify this, I'll put in a Super VHS tape, and we'll try recording on Super VHS. I'm actually kind of happy that that's all it was. I mean, obviously the capacitors that were all melted on the audio board had to be replaced, and I replaced all of those, and I still didn't have any hi-fi audio on playback. I don't know about record because I didn't test it. It wouldn't play back hi-fi. And it turns out to be the preamp. We'll open up that preamp and see what's inside it, but I bet you there are surface mounted electrolytics in that thing, and I bet you they're leaking, and I bet you that's the problem. Okay, let's see how our playback is now, and see how bad our color bleed is, which isn't actually too bad. It's not bad at all. Remember that we're looking at this on a plasma screen. If I look at it on an analog monitor, it'll probably look better, because the plasmas tend to... there we go, there's EP. That's standard VHS. Not bad, not bad. Go back to, or that's EP there. Let's go back to SP. And there's the SP speed. And I think that color actually looks not too bad at all. Remember, color bars are the hardest thing to record, right? So it's looking pretty darn good. Let's try a Super VHS tape and see how it looks. Well, there's playback on Super VHS. Yeah, we're seeing a bit of from the rolling shutter, I think, on the camera. Yeah, Super VHS looks pretty good. You know, I mean, you got a bit of chroma noise in there, but that's pretty much normal for a lot of these machines, especially when you get something that's getting old like this. Red was always problematic. That was always where the noise was, mostly was in the red color sidebands. But yeah, the unit looks pretty darn good. Let's just try making a recording off of TV and see how it looks. So I'm just going to record a bit of a commercial here because I think we're probably okay with the commercial. I don't have to worry about getting hammered with copyright infringement. Crank my color up a bit on this monitor. Where's my tint?
Start for free today, 18 plus. Canada's vastness and extreme climate has shaped its people's down-to-earth character.
Oops, knock the stuff down here.
To yourself and to your community. The Royal Canadian Mint's
I'm just adjusting my chroma here a bit. I'm a little bit off.
Celebrates two icons of the Canadian
I probably do it best with color bars. Calibrate my monitor.
Made from pure silver. No tax, free shipping, 30-day money-back guarantee.
And here's playback. Okay. There's my recording. Yeah, it looks good. Looks good on that monitor. If I swing down to the plasma here, let's just say when you're not recording color bars, it's not too bad.
You're not gonna let that happen again, right? Never again.
Start for free today, 18 plus. Canada's vastness and extreme climate has shaped its people's down-to-earth character.
And this unit, of course, has got frame by frame. Those lines you see drifting across the screen, that's actually the rolling shutter on the camera. Wonder if I can take my shutter speed down, whether that will. Not even at 1/60th of a second. It still does it, and that's because I went to automatic there. I'm at 1/25th of a second. Whoops. Shutter speed 1/60th. You still get a bit of that because of course video is not 60 frames, it's 59.97.
Being Canadian means being true to the land.
So especially when you pause the image, it actually changes the frame rate ever so slightly because you're not looking at moving video, and now you're getting that line across the picture. It's not on the screen, it's just on the camera.
Celebrates two icons of the Canadian life.
But there's playback.
Forge our national
That's SP speed on Super VHS.
shipping.
Let's try doing a recording in the EP speed and see how it looks. Okay, I found another commercial that I can record now. And we'll see how this works. This is my live recording, and we'll show you the playback of this one momentarily. Sorry that I'm seeing the lines in the screen here off the camera. I'll try and defocus it ever so slightly to try and make it look a little better on the screen, but that's the problem when you're using a 4K camera and shooting a CRT. You're going to see all the individual little lines. And again, it looks much better on the monitor than it does on the camera. I apologize for that. The CRT does look better than the de-interlaced version of this going on the plasma screen, because plasma being a 480p, this is only a 480p screen, but it still has to de-interlace the interlaced picture, and they don't look as good. I mean, a CRT looks superior. In fact, what I'm probably going to do with this thing is I'm going to plug this into a larger CRT monitor just to evaluate how good it is, because as you know, with digital displays just don't do analog devices justice. And here's playback from EP. The EP speed actually still looks pretty darn good. Yeah.
Freedom from interest. Plus specially tied pickups now get 1,000 smart bonus.
That picture looks just fine.
Trucks 39 years straight are built for its up. Now get 0%
Even the sharpness, look at that, I can bring the sharpness up on this thing by cranking up the sharpness. It's not bad.
Sweet cinnamon sugar on the outside, crazy on the inside. Crave those crazy squares.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that picture. Let's open up that.
Well done, champ.
Let's open up that preamp module and see what's in it. Oh, cool! I found some. I found a Montreal Jazz Festival tape. I'm going to have to digitize this. I don't know who it is. I used to record all kinds of stuff, right? So I've got tons and tons and tons of stuff from on Super VHS, and oh, it's Herbie Hancock and the new Standards All Stars. Cool. This is. I mean, I've just been going through. I just grabbed some Super VHS tapes that I've got. I've got dozens and dozens of tapes, and I just grabbed one to see how it plays. This is a recording that an EP recorded years and years ago, and it looks great. Okay, let's crack this thing open and see if there are any surface-mounted electrolytic capacitors in this thing. I'm pretty sure that we're probably going to find some in here. Okay, we'll just crack open the lid here. Okay, there's nothing on that side. Huh, it almost looks like that IC has been changed. Look at this. It almost looks to me like somebody's been soldering on this IC. See that? I think someone's worked on this thing. Okay, I gotta undo these solder connections over here to look on the other side because the board's soldered in place. My iron is still warm, so let's just open this thing up and see what's on the other side of it. That's one side undone. Oh yes. Oh yes. What do we have here? I do believe that this one's leaking for starters. It's good to know because the one I put in there from the other machine is probably going to go bad. It's probably going to leak too, so I better keep my eyes on that. We have some surface mounted capacitors on this thing. There's only a couple of them. There's one right here. Doesn't appear to be leaking at this time, but this one over here, this Elna unit is, this one's bad over here. You can see it. You can see where it's puked onto the board. That's going to be the problem, and yeah, that's definitely going to be the problem with this. This thing plugs in like this too, so this connector here, this would be the audio. This is video over here. These are our test points for scoping for our waveform. And our video plugs in over here. This is the preamp for the video. This is going to be the RF preamp for the hi-fi audio. That capacitor's right in there. We only had one head coming off this thing. And it threw me for a bit because I didn't know where the pulse, whether the sync pulse or the switching pulse was coming in, because it is a delayed switch pulse. But it actually comes in on one of the other headers over here, and it was in fact there. But there you go. There's where the problem was, right there. So I bet you if I change that capacitor and this one over here in good measure, because well, we all know how great these these surface mounted pieces of shit are. I bet you this preamp will work, but I don't need to worry about that now. And it really looks like this IC's been resoldered at some point too. And even this connector down here looks like it's been did someone's touched that up? See? Anyway, there's where the problem was. So say it didn't throw me that far after I replaced all the caps on the board, and I had no sound, no hi-fi sound. Little bit more troubleshooting led me to the preamp, and rather than take it apart and try and fix it, I figured, okay, I've got an identical one, let's just swap it. And as soon as I plugged it in, away we went, off to the races. Problem solved. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Now that I got this thing out of my hair, I can work on some of the other cool stuff that's backing up here in the shop. Some actual paid jobs for a change. Catch you in the next one. Bye.